In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Rise of the Halflings Kickstarter from Printable Scenery. But before we get into today's video, just want to share with you what the GGGG is for this month. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this month of November of 2021, we have this printed and painted ruin set from the Tempest Hold Kickstarter that's going on right now, as well as 3 all-in digital pledge that gives a 5e adventure and a ton of other terrain. Go ahead and make sure you check out that video here. We also have this printed and painted Blizzard Bluff Hot Spring set, as well as 3 all-in pledges for the current Kickstarter, and you can check out that video as well. We also have a set of Uber Stacks card and token holder. And then finally, we have $100 going towards the Skyrim Kickstarter, again, going on right now. If you want to find out more information, use my links below to go to my Patreon page, and you can check out all of the details there and how you can have a chance to be chosen by Bob to receive one of these gratitude gifts. And actually, this printed and painted Palace of the Druid from the Rise of the Halflings Kickstarter is going to be one of December's GGGGs. So I've already printed and painted this set, so you're going to get one of these for December. So Printable Scenery reached out to me, asked for another review. I've reviewed a lot of their Kickstarters, and this one is really neat because it has this very stylized sort of wooden themed terrain as well as a city set. And typically Printable Scenery splits their pledges so that you can get one style or the other. And this is the halfling side of things, which is much more organic and integrated into trees. It looks super cool, a lot of tree forts and things like that. Also can be used for Ewoks if you're playing Star Wars or similar games. So I'm really excited about this set. And I do have a painting tutorial at the end of the video if you want to use the timestamps to skip over to that. You can paint these up really quickly using my painting guide. We are also going to go to the computer and I'm going to walk you through the Kickstarter campaign so that you know what your options are. And that Kickstarter is going to be ending on December 9th, which is about 12 days from the time I post this video. So use the links below if you want to jump in on the Kickstarter. This Rise of the Halflings Kickstarter does actually include miniatures, a bunch of halfling miniatures, which is not necessarily something you see a lot of. But I also think that this theme works really well with elves too. Even though it might be a little bit short for elves, I actually think just the fact that these are almost like tree forts will work for elves, wood elves in particular, or any D&D campaign or RPG where people are living within the woods. So like druids or other things like that, factions, or even tabletop factions like the dryads. So any of those would work super well with this kit and then with this set. As well as when we look on the computer, the city set is highly stylized as well. And that's one of the things that I really like about Printable Scenery is that each one of their Kickstarters comes out with very distinct features and distinct sets. And so this doesn't disappoint in that regard either. Also, I print everything out in 0.2 millimeter height, and this requires no supports. So all of this printed up really well, as you can see here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on over to the computer and I can walk you through the campaign. So here's the Kickstarter page for Rise of the Halflings, and if you want to watch the video, you can, but they said that this is part of a new series where it is all going to be within the Reign of Arcane, which is the world. So they're going to be releasing various themed terrain, but it all fits within this common world. So it's going to be narrative driven so that it can have a little bit more backstory and campaign information if you want to run it for any RPGs. So let's go ahead and look really quickly at the various pledges. So as typical, they do have 2 different groupings. So the Warlocks, which is the city buildings, and then the Halflings, which is all of the wooden buildings. Each one of these is $63 US, or you can get both of them for $104, which gives you about a $22 savings if you get both of them. So let's go ahead and just scroll through and see what is available. And what I really like is that each one of their sets from Printable Scenery is really distinct from each other, like I mentioned before. So this style is incredibly different than any other that they have in their already broad range. And use the links below if you want to go to Printable Scenery's website, because all of their previous Kickstarters are available for purchase. Of course, you're not getting as good a deal as when you buy them through the Kickstarter, but they are still all available. I think this Halfling set is super cool because it's integrated into these woods, and even the Druid Palace here, you can see here is even higher up, so that's an option for where you want in terms of levels. And this is some of the storyline about the worm, the great worm that came, and the warlock that banished it. So it's a good hook, narrative hook for any of you who are running campaigns, RPGs. And as typical, this is the base warlock set that you're getting, but oftentimes this amount is usually doubled or tripled even based off of how much money is raised and how many stretch goals are unlocked. And I think, again, the paint scheme for this looks super cool. And what's interesting is you're getting some of these hedge animals, which fits in nicely. Chewbacca's world also would be well integrated into these treetops as well. So a ton of variety that you can use these various models. Here are the miniatures. They look super good. And just the integration of these huts, and as you can see here, these trees. I really hope that these trees are available, although these trees would be huge, so they would have to be printed out multi-tier, I would imagine. They've already unlocked a good number of stretch goals, so this looks really cool as well. They're so stylized, I love it. So typically they alternate between the two different main sets, the Warlocks and the Halfling set, and it looks like they are also unlocking miniatures. I think this is the first time they're doing miniatures, although I might be wrong, but I don't remember seeing miniatures being available from their previous Kickstarters. This set is super cool as well. Again, highly stylized. It would be totally fun to paint. So all of these are unlocked because this isn't dollar amount. This is the New Zealand amount. And it looks like you're getting various different pieces of furniture. So these are locked right now, but typically they unlock because Printable Scenery's Kickstarters are relatively successful, so they're able to unlock quite a number of these files. So just a ton of things that are available. And then, as typical, you can add on previous Kickstarters, and usually they are at a better discount than if you were to just purchase them right off the bat. So that is really a good way if you want to catch up on some of the previous files that they have. And Printable Scenery runs enough Kickstarters, typically at least one per quarter, that if you want some of their previous files, it's always better to jump on when they have a Kickstarter like this. And I've gotten a number of files from them that way that I've wanted. So there you go. Again, the campaign is ending relatively soon, so make sure you jump on over to the Kickstarter page if you are interested. And again, check out my Patreon page to see how you might be able to receive one of these many different printed and painted sets, or this Uber Stack, or the $100 towards the Skyrim. And then again, if it's December of 2021, this is one of the gratitude gifts for December. And stay tuned because I typically add a lot of other GGGGs throughout the month as they come in. Stick around for the painting tutorial if you're interested in that. Otherwise, happy printing, happy gaming. We'll see you next time. All right, I'm going to start off with spray priming everything with the Krylon Camouflage Brown. This is a really dark brown and it's very matte, so this is one of my favorite primers. If you don't have this brand, go ahead and get the darkest matte brown that you can find. And I use this for all of the wood parts, so we're going to spray all of this with this brown. So just take it from all sides so that you get a good coat. So first off, I used E6000 in order to glue these pieces together. So each level I went ahead, even though these were printed in separate parts, I just used this to glue them together. That way, just painting, it'll be more even when I paint the pieces. So I'm going to grab my milk chocolate, and I do use Americana Craft Paint. If you don't have Americana, go ahead and just grab a medium brown. Any kind of medium brown is going to work. And also I use a stiff hog's hair brush. I found that this works really well with making sure that the paint goes on the raised parts of the print, but not into the crevices. And the reason why we want that to happen is because we want the paint to not go all the way in to these cracks, but instead leave that spot to be shaded. So this is sort of the effect that we're going for, and as you notice, it does a really good job of not going all the way into the dark brown, since we want to maintain that for the shading. So just do this for all of the pieces, and sometimes I have to do a second coat of this just because it isn't quite light enough, since this dark brown mutes the color. But I'll wait and see. It might be possible that I don't need to do a second coat. And you definitely don't want to wet your brush down, because then the paint will leak down into the cracks. So just leave it dry relatively. So go ahead and do this for all of the pieces except for the tree stands. So these guys, because I want to do a different color for the trees. But you can do the same color if you want, but this is just a way to provide a little bit of variation. So I'm going to do a different color for this. But the entire hut, I'm going to just go ahead and put this base color down. Okay, so you might be wondering how I painted around the bushes that is growing on here, and I didn't really. I just didn't worry about getting the brown paint on them, because we're going to go back and do them with green. So don't worry about getting the brown onto some of these other parts. Same thing with the ropes, because we're going to go back on them as well. So once you're done with this brown, we're going to go ahead and transition to a lighter brown, and I'm going to grab this honey brown. And I'm actually going to still use my same brush. I don't even bother cleaning it. And just get a good amount. Now this time around, we're not going to put as much onto these pieces, because we're mostly just going to highlight, because we don't want to put as much as we did with the chocolate brown or the milk chocolate. Just very lightly just go over everything, and that will just result in highlighting all of the wood. And obviously, if you do want to do different colors for the different wood, you can. This is just speed painting to get it painted up as quickly as possible, but you might opt to, for example, do these logs a different color versus what is woven here. So maybe the woven roofs or sides is more of a vine, so you can make it a different color, either lighter or darker. But it's entirely up to you how you want to vary the thing. I just like this color scheme just because it makes it fast. I'm able to get it done quickly. Alright, so I do want to do the tree trunks a different color, so I'm going to do burnt sienna. And this is a little bit more of a reddish color, but it will just distinguish it from the rest of the tree house. So again, I don't even bother cleaning my brush, because you're putting so much paint on here that it just covers up the previous paint, so it's not a big deal to do that. So these are going to be pretty quick and easy. Just go across the grain like this so that the bark still maintains the dark color. And as you can see here, it doesn't matter if you get it onto these little, I don't think they're bushes. Maybe it's lichen. I'm not entirely sure what it is. You know what? After looking at the color difference, I do definitely like having this different reddish color, but I think I want to make some of the branches also on the main piece the same color as well. So I'm going to go ahead, I changed my mind, I'm going to paint some of the wooden pieces this reddish color. Doesn't really matter that I painted it before with the other brown, because you're going to be able to paint over this relatively easily without any noticeable difference. And with this color, I'm not doing an extra layer of highlight, so all it requires is just one coat of this color. And so again, that provides a little bit of variability, which I think is helpful just in creating a little bit more of a sense of just different kinds of woods. So I'll go ahead and do that, and before we move on to the next step. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the curtains, and I am picking this Rookwood Red. And you can pick basically any color that you want, but I wanted more of a subtle color since all of this is sort of nature colors. So this is going to match, it's not going to stand out too much, but you know, you can choose to use a brighter color if you desire. It's all up to you. But with sort of these wood kind of scenery, I like to keep it more natural looking, and that's why I'm picking this red. Obviously, you can, if you do pick brighter colors, I do think sort of the curtains might be a good place to show some of that, since there is very little of it on this model. And again, I just have the background dark brown still acting as a shadow, so I'm not going into the crevices all the way, but just putting on a coat right here like this. I'm grabbing my antique gold, and I'm going to do all of my ropes with this color. And what I found with Printable Scenery ropes is that there is enough relief on them that as long as your brush isn't too wet, it will maintain that dark brown in the recesses in order to give you this texture. So I really like how they sculpt the ropes in all of their terrain, and it pretty much makes it super easy to just in one coat go ahead and color in all of the roping, which is good because this model has a ton of it, and it would be a pain if I had to do multiple layers of this in order to achieve this color. I've always liked antique gold for roping, but other colors sometimes that I've used is sort of an orangish brown. That's another, as long as it contrasts against the brown behind it, whatever color you pick will be good. But I really like this yellowish color because it makes it stand out pretty good. Here is some zinc. This is a dark gray. And again, you can see here, I'm not covering the entirety of it, just it's okay if the dark brown is still functioning as shading for it. So don't worry about that.